What's up YouTube? Jeff back again from dopetechdaily.com. Today I'm bringing you guys a requested video, a quick comparison between the OnePlus 3T and the Moto G5 Plus. Now before I even get into this comparison, I want to say up front that I know these two devices are not in exactly the same price category. Here I have the 4GB, 64GB version of the Moto G5 Plus, which retails for $299 if you buy it without the ads. Amazon has a cheaper version where you get ads on the lock screen, but this is the one that's got no ads. You can get it at Best Buy for $299 versus the OnePlus 3T. This is my midnight black version, which does retail for a little bit more, close to 500 bucks, but you can get a version of the OnePlus 3T for 440 bucks with 64 gigabytes of storage, 6 gigabytes of RAM. So essentially, there's about a $150 price difference roughly between these two if you want to spend the least that you can on each of these models. If you want to get the 128 gig model, again, it's a little more. But again, it's the same core feature set aside from the storage. What I want to focus on is whether or not it's worth it for you to pay that extra $150 if you include the extra tax to get the OnePlus 3T over the Moto G5 Plus. So let's get right into it. The first thing, the build quality, of course, is something you notice when you pick up a phone. And these two phones, in my opinion, are a very different experience when you pick them up. If you look at the OnePlus 3T, just to focus on it, the phone's beautiful in the black color, but aside from that, you got this all metal back, very, very nicely machined, a lot of precision detail. The buttons here also feel very good on the sides, very clicky. The front here, very nice panel of glass here. You got that AMOLED display on the front as well. Overall, this thing feels like a premium device. It doesn't even feel like a mid-tier device. It feels like a flagship level quality, which is what you come to expect actually from OnePlus. They've been churning out some great phones the last couple years here, doing a really good job, and they sort of brought that build quality to the matte black version of the OnePlus 3T. Now on the other hand, the Moto G5 Plus has got a nice metal build on the back, but it's got plastic around the sides. The buttons are plastic. The front of the phone looks a little less appealing to me, mainly because personally I don't really like the Moto logo up top. I also don't like the shape of the home button. That's just something slight to complain about. That's the case on both of these. I'd rather have the home button slash fingerprint scanner on the back. Both of them have the front-facing scanner. That's not a huge deal by itself. But the Moto G5 Plus is thicker than the OnePlus 3T, as you can see if I put these on a side profile. Also, the camera bump is a little bit larger, a little bit more noticeable. It also takes up a little more of the area of the back of the phone. Overall, I don't think the Moto G5 Plus looks terrible, but it doesn't feel as nice and premium in the hand as the OnePlus 3T. Overall, if you're going for build quality and looks, I think I have to give it to the OnePlus 3T. It feels better, looks better, but again, there's that price difference, but it's something to consider when purchasing the two phones. The next thing is the display quality. Obviously, when you're buying a phone, you want to get that solid display. You've got 1080p display on both of these. However, you've got the AMOLED display over here versus the LCD. In my opinion, the colors are more impressive overall on the AMOLED display for the OnePlus 3T. That's no surprise. You get those very, very vivid blacks. You can see the different shades of reds you got there as well. But you get those very, very deep blacks and vivid colors. The LCD, though, on the Moto G5 Plus is not bad. Both of these phones have excellent viewing angles. Very, very good for both the LCD and the AMOLED display on the OnePlus 3T. Over here, you're getting the darker blacks. You're also getting a more vibrant color structure. Here, it's not bad at all. You get great detail. Both of them are plenty bright. I've used both of these phones outside here in Arizona. No issue at all. At the end of the day, though, I have to give the edge, as usual, to the AMOLED because it is brighter by a tiny margin. Speaking of which, if you guys do like AMOLED wallpapers, you can find them inside the Backdrops wallpaper app. You guys know I use Backdrops for everything. They have an AMOLED section now, which is exactly where I got this wallpaper from. I know some people are going to ask about that. So the next thing is the performance. At the end of the day, this phone, the OnePlus 3T's got the Snapdragon 821 in it versus the Moto G5 Plus, which has got the Snapdragon 625. Now, you might think that that's going to lead to some performance sort of gulf between the two. That is not true at all. The Moto G5 Plus, it hums along like a charm. This phone is incredibly, incredibly smooth. I love the Moto G5 Plus with the Snapdragon 625. I think the 625 is one of the best, most efficient processors out there when it comes to phones that are not in the flagship category. The 625 allows not only great performance because Motorola has sort of a close to stock build of Android, but also it allows great battery life, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But I've had absolutely no lag or any hiccups on this phone. I would say in terms of smoothness, the only phone that I can really compare to it in terms of smoothness is the Pixel and also the OnePlus 3T. The OnePlus 3T, which runs Oxygen OS, which is OnePlus version of Android, is also very lightly skinned. But one thing I love about the OnePlus 3T is that it has this nice sort of features built into it on top of stock Android. Some of the things that I like are the extra gestures that you get in here. A whole lot of gestures you can choose from. Motorola also has those. I'll talk about it in a second. You can also choose if you want to use on-screen buttons or you want to use the capacitive buttons. You can swap the buttons around, change the backlight, all kinds of great customizations, including theming the colors. As you can see, I got the purple theme throughout here, and also the dark mode, as you guys can see I'm using, which again looks great on that AMOLED screen. So overall, I think the OnePlus 3T and the Moto G5 Plus, when it comes to performance, they're actually about dead even. Both of these phones are super smooth. I've never had a problem with lag when it comes to opening apps or anything like that. Gaming runs obviously a little bit better on the OnePlus 3T due to that Snapdragon 821. The 625 is great for day-to-day tasks, but when you start getting into some graphic-intensive stuff, that's where it really starts to sort of show that this is a cheaper phone and also a mid-tier processor. When it comes to software, I sort of got into that a little bit here, but I love Oxygen OS. It's probably one of my favorite skin versions of Android. As I said, a lot of great features built in on top of something very close to a stock build. You've also got the swipe over here where you can get some of your quick settings, apps, message center. It's kind of like a little bit of mini version of Flipboard, but it's not nearly as heavy, and also you can customize sort of as a widget and also what appears there. I kind of like it because it doesn't give you as much information as some of the other things like HTCs and Flipboard from Samsung. They sort of bombard you with information. Also on the Moto G5 Plus, you have a very nice, like I said, close to stock build of Android. Motorola also has a lot of great options built into the Moto app. If you go into Actions, of course, the new feature that's built into this particular phone is the one-button nav. I'll talk a little more about this in my full review. But basically, if you turn this on, what you'll be able to do now is you can actually swipe left on the home button to go back, and then you can swipe right on the home button to get your recent apps. That allows you to free up some screen real estate by getting rid of these on-screen buttons, which obviously that's nice if you want to have more control, more use of your screen for media, or if you're reading text or something on the screen. That is something to consider. That feature is there if you like it. I found it to be a little finicky, mainly because sometimes when I'm in an app, say like Flamingo, and I want to go back, sometimes I'll hit the home button, which you guys just saw, I did that there. Instead of swiping, I'll actually press it in, and then of course that's going to take me back to the home screen instead of going back like I want. That can be pretty annoying when you're navigating web pages. But overall, I like the effort that Motorola has put into their OS, keeping it close to stock and adding those extra features on top. You still got Moto Display. You still got, the double chop to get the flashlight. All that cool stuff you guys saw right there. Activate the flashlight. A lot of great features built on top of stock Android for both of these. If I had to pick, I think I like Oxygen OS a little bit more just because I'm a kind of guy who likes to theme things. And also I really love this dark option in the settings where you can also add a custom color. That's one of my favorite features that have been built into a third-party OS. And I really love it. I really love the software. But both of these are very good in terms of software. Very hard to choose. Next thing is the battery life. It's tough to compare, but I think the Moto G5 Plus gets the battery life crown. The OnePlus 3T is running that Snapdragon 821. In my opinion, because usually you're going to do a lot more computing with that higher range processor, you're not going to get quite as much battery life for a whole day out of it. I get about 4.5 to 5 hours on the OnePlus 3T in a daily use. I can get around 6 to 6.5 hours screen on time on the Moto G5 Plus. Probably again because I'm doing a little bit less with it. I'm not trying to play any intensive games, etc. because I know the 625 is not built for that. But also for those day-to-day activities, if you're using this as a work phone, the Moto G5 Plus is going to be super efficient with that 625 in there. A very, very good processor. Overall, the battery advantage I think has to go to the G5 Plus. The next thing, of course, the cameras in these two phones. I was doing a little comparison before I shot this video because I've had a OnePlus 3T for a while. Even before I got the black version, I had the gunmetal version. I took a few pictures to remind me a little bit of the quality of this camera. It's been a few weeks, few months actually, probably since I've taken a lot of pictures with it. And the camera is pretty good overall. The UI is nice and clean. Overall, the shutter speed very quick. And the only place it really struggles is in sort of low light. But even indoors here, I turned off the lights that I had from my studio lights here, took a picture of the Tag Heuer Connected. It's a pretty good shot with very sufficient detail. At the end of the day, one key difference between the two cameras, let me switch over to the Moto G5 Plus, is the lack of optical image stabilization on the G5 Plus. The OnePlus 3T does have that, and you're going to notice that in quite a few instances when you're taking photos in low light or you're taking photos where you can't necessarily steady your hand. I took this photo of the OnePlus 3T with the Moto G5 Plus sort of laying flat so I could get a good shot. And I tried to take a couple others, and if you actually zoom in here, you'll see these shots are really blurry. I'll post a few of these below. They're really blurry because my hand wasn't steadied. The fact that you don't have optical image stabilization on the Moto G5 Plus is definitely obvious at times. It also can be slow to focus. The shutter speed is quite fast on the phone. Due to the f1.7, this is some garbage pictures. Due to the f1.7, the phone can take pretty good pictures in low light, but the lack of optical image stabilization, again, sometimes does rear its ugly head. It has the same exact sensor that the Galaxy S7 Edge had last year. Unfortunately, the image signal processor in the 625, not quite as good as the one that was in the S7 Edge last year, so that leads to a little bit worse low light performance. But overall, a very, very capable camera. So if you're going to take pictures in daylight, it's not going to have many problems at all. Just make sure you have a steady hand and that you don't have any issues with that optical image stabilization. Overall, at the end of the day, if you want to compare these two, what are you getting for the extra $150 with the OnePlus 3T? In my opinion, you're getting a better build quality, feels more premium. You're getting a better gaming performance out of the Snapdragon 821, obviously, that higher end processor. If you buy the 128 gig version, of course, you're going to get more storage, but with the prices being as they are, the 64 gigs are closer to being comparable. You're getting a little bit better screen, especially if you like those really deep blacks on the AMOLED screen with the OnePlus 3T. Software, performance, day-to-day performance, very comparable on both. I would give a slight camera edge to the OnePlus 3T just because the shutter speeds are very close, but the OnePlus 3T with the OIS gets a little bit better detail in most situations, even though if you have the ideal sort of steady hand, perfect shot, they get about the same level of detail and brightness. But again, the image signal processor in the 625 sometimes fails the Moto G5 Plus, even though it has that nice sensor. Again, there's one other factor I haven't talked about, and that is that these phones aren't quite the same size. If you look at it, the screen size is 5.5 on the OnePlus 3T. We're looking at 5.2 over here on the Moto G5 Plus. So whether or not you really want to spend the extra money, again, comes down to how important the camera, the build quality, and also that Snapdragon 821 for gaming really is to you. If those are really important factors, go with the OnePlus 3T. If you just need a daily phone that's going to give you really solid performance, the best battery life of the two, and you really don't game a lot, and you don't necessarily take a ton of pictures that are going to be in low light situations, you don't need the best camera. The Moto G5 Plus is a great option. You don't sacrifice a lot for that extra $150 savings. All right, guys, so that's my quick comparison to the OnePlus 3T, the Moto G5 Plus. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy my content. Find me at dopetechdaily.com, Google+, Instagram, and Twitter at the links in the description. I appreciate you guys checking out this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks a lot for watching.